Hey guys, welcome back for Chapter 1, Section 3, different types of government. As you can see here, I got the PowerPoint pulled up. I got to kind of move quick in this one. You guys are going to get an abbreviated version of it. But if you have any questions, please let me know. Please ask um, when you come in and see me. If you're cyber, when we have our Teams meetings, if we can ever get those to work, uh, ask me questions. So jot them down as I'm going through my PowerPoints. Any questions that you have, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. If you can't get a hold of me, message me through Schoology or through my email. I'll try to get back to you in a timely fashion. Getting started here. Uh, this goes in, Section 3 goes into different types of governments. So when we talk about, this will all be on your test. So when we talk about an autocracy, we talk about somebody ruling a government by themselves. It's one of the oldest forms. We've seen these in movies, whether it be passed down from generation hereditarily or a military force. Um, we had Hideki Tojo during World War II in Japan. We've had people, kings and queens, lead in autocracy. So one ruler, autocracy means one. Some forms of autocracy, autocratic governments, uh, totalitarian dictatorship. An individual has absolute rule. We've seen these in histories with Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Benito Mussolini, and have total control over the government, and that would be a form of autocracy. So they have total control, whatever it may be. We've seen this through history. It can be a dangerous type of government if these guys go off the deep end, which they have in the past. We move into monarchy. A monarchy means a king or queen has absolute power in an absolute monarchy. We've seen this throughout history as well. And kind of the similar thing as a totalitarian dictatorship, just with a king or a queen. Another type of government is an oligarchy. It means ruled by a small group. We see this in China. Even though they call themselves the Democratic Government of China, they are not democratic. They have parties that are sent to an oligarchic rule. If you guys did that in your country activities, you would see that. They're basically, it gets sent to them, and a small group of people make a decision on whether they're going to pass it or not. Derives power from wealth, military power. It could be a social position, religion, or a combination of these things. I put here the China Communist Party. They may hold elections but offer one candidate, so they basically rig the elections. And they may have representative legislators, but only to approve policies already made. So they're going to make the policies. They make it look like, from the people's standpoint, that they have a democratic government, but really they have an oligarchic rule, okay, that's controlling it, much similar to one ruler, but only with a small group. Finally, a democracy. Democracy means rule by the people. Many countries have a democracy today. We have two different forms of a democracy. We have a direct democracy. People govern themselves by voting on issues in town meetings. So if I were to do a direct democracy in my class, I would say, let's say I have 20 students, I'd say, raise your hand, who likes Kit Kats and who likes Snickers? The majority of you votes for Snickers. Well, I'm going to get you Snickers the next day. It could be 11 votes to 9 votes for the other candy. I'm going to get you that type of candy because one more person voted for it, 2 more people voted for it. That's a direct democracy. A representative democracy would be this. Let's say we have 60 classrooms in the school. We're going to vote. We're going to have a school day. Tomorrow, the whole school is going to get either Snickers or Kit Kats. We're going to have 60 teachers represent the kids. Okay? You guys vote. I have 20 students in my room. You guys vote for Snickers. Okay? I have 1 vote and I represent Mr. Stauffer's room. Okay? 31 votes to 29 votes goes to Kit Kats. The school gets Kit Kats tomorrow. Everybody gets Kit Kats. And that's known as a representative democracy. And that's how we vote for the President of the United States. A lot of people think the Electoral College is flawed because of this. All right, there's only 3 states that do a similar thing of a direct democracy, almost like. It's similar to a representative democracy. Only in the Electoral College, that's how we vote for our president. Pennsylvania has 20 votes for the presidency, okay? And 11 of them vote for the Republican Party. That means all 20 votes go to the Republican Party. So that's a little thing. We'll talk about that as we move on. But that's the difference between a direct democracy and representative democracy. In a republic, voters hold sovereign power. So we hold the sovereign power. We vote for who's going to represent us. That's why we have the power in our government. That's why it's important to vote. All right. We have a federal republic. We have 2 levels. We have different levels of government, and we can vote for a federal representative republic is what we have. As you can see here, we have a federal system. And in the federal system, like I said, we have different levels. So we have state governments, we have national governments, and then we have shared powers here. Anything that's shared that conflicts with the state always goes to the federal government. Okay? So the federal government always has the final say over the state governments. But we'll respect the state governments as long as the state governments respect the rules and laws that are put together during this time. And you can see kind of the different things. We have some outdated ones here with marriage laws that became a federal law. Marijuana is one that now could be in here. Okay, state governments cannot declare war. State governments cannot coin money. All right, they both can levy taxes. They both can maintain law and order. We have the FBI. We have the state police. Borrowing money, they both can take eminent domain. They can both take land for public use and provide for public welfare. Okay, so we have a bunch of these different things, and then we have their own. So anything that overlaps, they will allow as long as the state government, okay, abides by it. Now, let's say that Colorado has a marijuana law because it's a good example, but somebody in Colorado takes that, starts selling it in a different state. Well, now the federal government can step in. They're crossing borders. A Tiananmen Square tank man. I'll post a YouTube video of this. This link doesn't work, so don't try to go to this link. But I'll post a video of the Tiananmen tank man. Basically, during this time, during the Tiananmen Square protests, where they were protesting in China for their civil rights, and basically the Chinese government ruthlessly gunned down hundreds of people, thousands of people in the Tiananmen Square. And as they were going there, a man, nobody knows who he is, stopped and stood in front of these tanks. It's pretty incredible. And basically China tried to keep this from getting out, but somebody got it and virally let it get out because China controls all of their media outlets. So this got out, and nobody knows what happened to the tank man after this happened. They don't know if the Chinese government took him and did something to him as far as put him in a camp or tortured him or let him go with a different alias. Okay, but nobody's seen the tank man since this, but he stood up against the tanks and forced the tanks to stop in their path, okay, to protect those Tiananmen Square people. It's interesting. I'll try to post a video if you guys want to take a look at it. It'll only be a couple minutes long. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If you ever come into my class, 3 different pictures back on the back wall. And one of my favorite presidents of all time is Abraham Lincoln because of what he stood for and how he preserved the Union. So there's a couple of characteristics that define a democracy and create the soil, the groundwork for a democracy. These characteristics include individual liberty. We have our liberties. We have the freedom to choose what we want to do. We have the freedom to pick a career. There's a lot of countries that don't. North Korea, you work for the government, you get your rations, you don't get any pay, it goes right to the government. Majority rule with minority rights. All right, so whoever owns the majority in Congress has the rule, okay? And minorities still have rights to make votes. Freedom of elections, okay? And then competing political parties. We have the Democrats and Republicans, and they compete against each other. It's interesting. I always go back during this lesson and I talked about how George Washington warned against political parties and warned how that would be the downfall. It was one of his 3 quotes. If you guys ever want to look it up, his 3 quotes in his farewell address, one of them was competing political parties. He thought it would ruin the United States of America. What is a political party? Individuals with common interests who organize to nominate candidates for office, win elections, conduct government, and determine public policy. Okay? Depending on, what you believe in, you will be categorized as a Democrat or Republican. The problem is that when I have students take these tests, many of them find themselves to believe in both issues in each political party. And it really surprises them a lot. So I'm going to really challenge you to start thinking on your own, start thinking for yourself and kind of drawing concepts in your minds to become better, well-rounded citizens in the United States of America. Historically, why have so few nations practice democracy? Well, it's very difficult to get people to participate in voting and different things along those lines. So in a lot of these countries, especially underdeveloped countries, they have very difficult time getting voting booths and different things like that. Number 2, a favorable economy, a free enterprise. A free enterprise is an opportunity that controls one's economic decisions to provide a base for making independent political decisions. Also, a free enterprise allows you to free and choose where to spend your money and how you're going to spend it. Number 3, in order for a democracy to succeed, you have to have education. your citizens have to be educated. What if you didn't have educated citizens? Then what would happen? Number 4, a strong civil society, okay, where people have rights, and a social consensus. What we find sometimes is that we can't agree on anything, though, and I talked a little about that today with my class today if you came in, but a social consensus, even in the state, and you saw a common consensus under the 4 features of a state under population. But what we find is it's very hard in a country to practice democracy if we can't agree on anything. We're seeing that right now in 2020. Our Congress is having a very difficult time agreeing on anything and passing bills and laws for our citizens. So what I usually do is I ask the class, do we have a social consensus? Now think about how you want to rule. And I'm just going to ask you these questions, and I want you to just think about what you would do in this situation. Okay, so number 1, I want you to think about this. Everyone should be given an opportunity for free public education. And I would say, hey guys, raise your hand if you believe everybody should have the opportunity for a free public education. And just about majority of the time, 99% of the kids do raise their hands. Hey, free education should be given. Okay. Then I ask, what about college education? How do you guys feel about that? And usually I get some disagreement. So usually even within our class, we don't get a social consensus when it comes to a free college education. Number 2, should the burning of the American flag as a symbol of protest should be made unconstitutional? All right. We've seen this back during the Vietnam War. A lot of protests were the burning of the American flag. What should happen? Should you be thrown in jail? Should you not be able to express your hatred towards an event? As we see now in 2020, we're seeing a lot of people kneeling for the American flag. Okay, and we see a split. We see a lot of the population believing that you shouldn't be able to kneel for the flag and it should be a violation of law. And then we have a lot of people saying, hey, you should be able to kneel for the flag because that's what these people went over there and died for. Okay, so you could have a right to be able to do these things. On the other hand, a lot of people say, no, we went and fight over there, and you should respect those soldiers that went over there. Okay, some people kneel for the flag for different reasons. Some for police brutality, some for equality. Okay, so I see a real big split in my class when I do number 2. So think about how you feel about that one. Number 3, freedom of speech includes the right to lie on your income tax form. In general, some people, unfortunately, lie on their income tax form to get money from the government. Okay? Usually I get a social consensus on saying that this is not the right thing to do. Number 4, this is a big discrepancy in my class as well. We have trouble finding a social consensus with this one. Wealthy people should pay a higher percentage of taxes than low-income people. Where should the tax brackets be? Should wealthy people pay more in taxes? Well, a lot of people that make a lot of money say, I will earn that money. Okay? Should you pay more taxes than somebody else? Or should everybody pay the same amount of taxes? And number 5, scientists should not be permitted to use animals for experiments. Should they be able to permit experiments on animals when it comes to cancer? Should there be animal experimentations on MS and all these different kinds of diseases? I see a split when it comes to this one as well. I have a lot of animal lovers, and I have people that are more medical minded. So these are just some examples of how it's very difficult to run a democracy because we don't agree on a lot of things, especially touchy subjects like these. All right, and this is just an example to show that. All right, guys, what I want you to do is after you've watched this PowerPoint, I want you to go in and I want you to look at the directions for repressive governments. We've talked about some repressive governments when we were talking about oligarchies, autocracies, totalitarian dictatorships, and monarchies, and how these countries today. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this website when you go to the directions for the repressive governments directions, and you're going to create a short 4-slide PowerPoint, and just follow the directions. Each PowerPoint will have specific things, the things that I listed on it, and then you're going to submit that to Schoology for me. All right, if you have any questions about that, please submit it to me online through Schoology or ask me when you come in. Hey guys, have a great day.